Oh, look at that. Real street performance, not to be confused with imaginary road performance. Backing up in the Smurfstang. In the Smurfstang. Seriously though, good weather puts me in the best mood possible. What is up guys? David here for another vlogative vlog. And there's a squirrel on the road. Get out of the way. What is up guys? David here for another vlogative vlog. And I hope that every single one of you is having a wonderful day. And today it is 55 degrees, which is really awesome. Because I'm really tired of cold weather. Especially when the calendar says it's springtime and it's not springtime. Because I'm not about that life. I mean, look at me. Look how skinny I am. Do you think I can contain heat? I can't, because I can't. So, what is the topic of the day? Well, we are going to talk about my lovely first time out of the United States. And that was to the Geneva Motor Show, or Geneva Auto Show, whatever they call it. And it was such a privilege. I will never take it for granted. And it'll be something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Not only was it the first time out of the United States, a lot of really cool things happened. As you guys might have seen in my Geneva Auto Show videos that I have released, a lot of cool stuff happened. I got to meet one of my role models, Christian von Koenigsegg, who was one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. He would talk to you about anything, and he was passionate about his own work. His cars are legendary for a reason. I mean, how many people do you go up to and go, yeah, I was trying to crack the code of not using a traditional transmission using gears? What? But awesome guy. I support his company all the way, even though I'm sorry, Christian, I can't afford your cars. Not in like 80 years, but still, your cars are awesome. Hopefully one day I'll be able to drive one. That's on my bucket list. Some kind of Koenigsegg. It's my favorite car of all time. A lot of people always ask me what my favorite car of all time is, and it's Koenigsegg's. There's just something about the grassroots mentality of it, that they do everything in-house. With Koenigsegg, they do everything in-house, and they're constantly evolving. And that's very inspirational, that they literally don't have any help from the outside world. And they're from Sweden, and most of my heritage goes back to being from Sweden, so that's pretty cool. Me and Cody probably spent the most time at Koenigsegg, believe it or not. Speaking of Cody slash Dr. M3 was kind enough to bring me along on this trip, and I want to thank him so very much for letting me tag along. Not only did we meet Koenigsegg, I also got to pretty much meet Horatio Pagani. Him and Koenigsegg both autographed a poster, so I fanboyed a little bit. We also got to see, CEO of Lamborghini. We saw all the different unveilings. The last Veyron got unveiled. The new 48 GT got unveiled, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it was kind of a sleeper. Don't get me wrong, the car still looks pretty good, and I'm sure it drives incredible. It's gonna be faster than the 458. It was just one of those times where you're just like, you talked for like 40 minutes about how different it was, and then you unveiled it, and it's like, oh, it's a 458 with some chisels on it. But that's me being, that's my opinion, so don't hate me. The Lamborghini Aventador SV though was that thing was a showstopper. Going back to what I was gonna say about Pagani, was Pagani is just art. Like, that is the best way. Like, no interior has ever touched it. Everybody overhypes the interior on this car, but it's there. I promise you. William, one of the people who works for Pagani that I had the privilege to meet, super nice guy, allowed me to sit in the Huayra. And it's the only car ever I have ever just sat in and I felt nervous. And the reason I say I was nervous was that I didn't want to screw anything up, like scuff the carpet or anything. Like, I was just like in slow motion getting into this thing. I was like, I am not ruining anything because it's so beautiful. Side note though, unfortunately, these two guys hopped in the blue exposed carbon fiber car, which was next to the one I sat in, which was a customer's car, without permission, and they sat in it. William had to be the bad guy, grabbed him out. Then after that, they slammed the red Pagani's hood. Like, how freaking dare you, dude? A 1 point whatever million dollar car, and you're just gonna slam the hood? How disrespectful. And that's why we have a segment during the Geneva show about car meet etiquette or car event etiquette, because there's like these unwritten rules about respect. With pretty much anything in our lives, you have to have a certain respect with people who own things. You know, it was just one of those moments where you're just like, I can't even. So after that, I finally saw the new Ford GT, which, goodness gracious, is that car beautiful. And also the awesome new Focus RS, which I was extremely impressed with as well. You know, Kim Block's just hanging out upstairs. You're just like, oh, hey there. And then you had Alex from Car Throttle I finally met, and Car Throttle, as you guys know, have supported me a long time, and they're fantastic. But the flight to Geneva was just such a pain, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The security in Heathrow Airport is more strict than any American security I've been through, and that's saying something, which is good. I'm not saying it's bad. But, you know, I had a bunch of camera gear, so you're standing there and they're individually taking everything out. You're like, please don't break my lenses, please don't break my lenses, please don't break my lenses. That was a little bit of a pain, but you gotta do what you gotta do to keep a country safe. I understand. One day I will make it to the UK to stay and film, one day, and I'm sure the buddies at Car Throttle would love to have me. So after that, we finally get to Geneva, and we get to our hotel, and we're like, okay, we have this very homey, local little hotel, and the people there were so awesome. And the elevator was retrofitted from like a closet. It was like the sketchiest thing ever. We asked, hey, do you have anywhere to eat? And they're like, oh yeah, there's a pizzeria down the street. So we go to this pizzeria, and it is the worst pizza I've had in my entire life. Yes, an American went to Switzerland his first time and got pizza, but I should have learned my lesson. There was a language barrier there, you know, they didn't speak English, which most of Geneva, it's very awesome. Most people are bilingual, and it made me feel stupid that I'm not bilingual. Most people I could communicate with. You're right on the border of France, which a lot of people don't realize, like you're like in walking distance. So it's mainly French in Geneva. So going to the auto show was great. I honestly wish I could have stayed in Switzerland longer to get more nature shots and that sort of thing of the Alps. I mean, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful city. And we were very, very privileged to have two Swiss locals there show us around. We got to see one of the best views of Geneva on top of the Four Seasons Hotel. Amazing, amazing hospitality by these guys. I loved them to death. And I also met these two other guys named Sebastian and Tom. Tom worked for Lamborghini, and Sebastian is from Monaco. Well, he's from the UK, but he lives in Monaco now. And we became pretty good friends as well, and we did that funny parody LaFerrari video. Yes, it's a parody with a fictional device, but the reason we did that was because it opens a conversation. The amount of options you can put on a car without it being a base model or whatever is just ridiculous. And it applies to any brand. But the fact that that was even believable at first just blows my mind. Like, that's the world we live in. And I mean, it goes with any company, like I said. I mean, Porsche has always been famous for having a ton of options for their cars, which is a good thing. But at the same time, if you're asking like, you know, hundreds of dollars for a different color seatbelt, like, come on, man. So there's that, and that makes the entire experience amazing. And I was so out of my element. You know, I'm this tuner kind of kid. I grew up around, you know, you can tell somebody there that 600 horsepower like Hondas exist and they're blown away. Like Sebastian was absolutely intrigued. And I thought that was so cool, you know, two different cultures, you know, in this cars, but we all love the same thing. That's why seeing the other side of this spectrum was so interesting. And that is why I went to the auto show. A lot of people are scared that I'm gonna like leave my roots, you know, and only review that stuff eventually when I get to that point, and it's just not true. I love everything in this world when it comes to cars, and I'm gonna do beater whatever up until exotics as long as I can. So there's nothing to fear, just letting you know. Exotics in our cars, you know, the more heathen cars, it's two sides of the same coin, guys. Koenigsegg, for example, I saw their new Regera, I know in you say in Swedish, it's Regera, but if you say it in English, like American English, it's Regera. But it was so intriguing knowing that that technology will trickle down one day. And that's why I love paying attention to the high dollar stuff, because eventually it will trickle down. After the auto show was over, we went outside and we saw the beautiful mountains. We walked around town a little bit, and we just kind of sat back and took it in and go, wow, we did all of this in 2 days and we flew back. The number one thing that made me feel like more of American than anything else over there was the food. And not that the food was bad, the food was actually pretty good other than that pizzeria, but the food was pretty good wherever we went, but the serving sizes were so much smaller than what we're used to. And the soda is a little bit different. You know, it's not as carbonated, which is actually kind of tastes better in my opinion. And they also, instead of, you know, giving you a can of soda or giving you your drink in a glass, they give you a glass and the physical drink where it came from. And I accidentally kept, whenever I asked for water as well, like they kept giving me sparkling water. You had to actually ask for still water. So like, it was like little tricks like that that I had to learn. You know, you pace yourself when you eat. You don't have as much serving size. You had to get something that was more filling, and because, you know, eating like pastries at the McLaren booth isn't gonna fill you up. So I was a little lightheaded sometimes. I was like, man, I am such a fatty internally, like up here. Obviously not, but you know what I mean. There's a saying out there that says traveling will broaden your horizon and broaden your perspective on life almost more than anything else, and now I completely understand it. Being one of the only Americans I ran into at the Geneva Auto Show was very interesting, because when you heard an American accent, you were thrown off. I found myself like losing my pace of speech as an American, as in like my kind of English. When I was around Tom, for example, he has a beautifully crafted British accent, and I'm over here and my pace starts to be different when I talk. And not with the accent, but my pace is different. I'm like, oh no, I need to stop that. Just like when I was around some people from Paris, my speech started to go up and down. You know, very you know, how they talk when they speak English. So I was like, oh man, this is bad. It reminds me, because I have family out in Kentucky and I always kind of come back with a Kentucky accent. You know, it's one of those things. So in conclusion, here is the question of the day. Where's the farthest place you have traveled to, and did you enjoy it? Geneva is the farthest away from home I've ever been, and it was a blast. I had such a great time. In the description below, you will find all of my social media, my t-shirts, my Twitch streams, and of course, the delicious Jerky XP with my coupon code below if you want some snacks while you're gaming or watching, you know, my blue face on YouTube. It's not really blue. I don't know why I said that. But other than that, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this lovely little vlog. And I will see you guys next time. And take it easy. Have a good one. I need to go get some food.